Okay, finally, the real season is upon us. It is time for the Ryan Goodman Tanguay for their Long for the Ride pod. We're talking playoffs. So the conversation starts today. The play-in format, which tonight Brooklyn and Cleveland, Minnesota, and the Clippers, as the NBA took a page out of Major League Baseball's book. Jeff Goodman, you brought this topic up in our rundown text, so you go first.
You know, I liked it last year. And now I feel like there's just not a lot of juice to it, right? I mean, I know Brooklyn plays Cleveland, but it's not a one-game knockout deal. I feel like if it was a one-game knockout deal, I'd be a whole lot more intrigued by this. But even if Brooklyn loses, they get another shot and they'll probably win that one. So it's not like the NCAA tournament where it's a one and done necessarily. Now, for some teams, it is, obviously, if you're in that 9-10 slot. 9-10 or 10-11? 10-11.
9-10.
Right? 9-10.
No, 10-11. You're right. Yeah, 10-11. Sorry, because it's,
And some of these teams have no right being in any sort of postseason, right? I mean, let's be honest, Bob. You know, you're looking at right now San Antonio. They're 14 games under 500, Bob, and they're in the postseason right now. This should not happen, period.
Yeah, and let me clarify just so we get this right. Nets are 7th. Cleveland's 8th, 9-10, Atlanta, and the Hornets. Go ahead, Bob.
9-10, yeah.
Well, of course you're right about that, about the fact that a team that far under would get in. Even in the old days, there were teams that didn't have, 500 records that would make the playoffs by the old format. One thing the NBA has been consistent in and since 1946 is its complete inconsistency with a playoff format. I mean, we used to joke about this back in the early 70s. That they seem to be changing it every year to accommodate events, and they're still doing it. 50 years later, who knows what they're going to come up with next? In the best of all worlds, the baseball, you'd have 2 leagues, 2 pennants. The World Series would start on September 28th or 30th and be over in a week. Same here. I don't need this. I don't don't need play-in. Just give me 1-8 and let's go. 1 plays 8, 2, 7. Let's go.
I'm with you guys on this. Baseball, I understood the philosophy of it. There are already enough teams in the NBA playoffs without a play-in game, right? Baseball, they needed to create some excitement, try to get some more fans in various cities. I like the fact that Minnesota's made a run, and they get a shot. But I mean, Brooklyn, my God. Okay, so Kyrie gets a pass now because they passed the law that he can play every game because he's not quarantined. So now they get a shot. It's like, to me, for a team, it's taken away the meaning of the regular season. So, I mean, are you going to be able to, Bob, are you going to be able to take like a Popovich and say, I'm going to sit everybody and I'm just going to be the 10th ranked team, then I'm going to play all my guys and make a run? That's why I think it sucks.
Well, there's a lot of reasons it sucks, and the funny thing about it this year, though, for me, is the presence of this oddball team, Brooklyn.
But they would be in anyway. But if you took this away, Bob, they'd be in. So I don't think it affects them as much.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about them in the playoffs in general,
and that's fine.
This is unlike anything we've ever experienced, ever. I mean, I've been following this league closely since 1969. And I'm telling you, this is unlike anything else. They're hovering. You know what I like? I liken it to whatever that Woody Allen movie was where the mother was hovering over the city. They're the mother hovering over the city. And, nobody knows what to make of them. I mean, really, they're intriguing. And so whether it was a standard, if they were just a standard 7, and they were playing the 2 or whatever happens here happens, they're the only interesting thing in this whole mess here. What do we care about the Cavaliers? What do we care about, the T-Wolves? What do we care about Charlotte? Oh my God. Nobody identified. We don't care.
Well, I would say this.
3 of us don't care. I mean,
Bob, I would say this. They did this because of the pandemic to some degree, because you weren't going apples to apples, right? A year ago.
Yeah.
And if you want to do it this year, the same. You weren't going apples to apples all season this year. Also, we forget about that. There were some, games missed, most of them early in the season. So I'm okay with it last year and this year. After this, over. Get rid of the play-in. We're done. As long as the pandemic is hopefully past us and we're dealing with apples to apples, let's get rid of this and go back to what was at least the norm for a while, and just 1-8. And the problem, listen, the other problem with all this is they thought by changing the lottery and making it so the odds were the same for the 1 to 3 teams that they would cut down on tanking. And it was the dumbest thing ever, like the dumbest thing ever, because everybody's tanking now. Everybody, more teams are tanking because you've got a chance to get closer to that 1 to 3 spot. So you've got it totally backfired to me. And you're not going to eliminate tanking as long as there's a draft lottery.
Okay, I hate to tell you, but I got a quote here from Adam Silver with regard to the potential for this being part of the permanent landscape. Okay, this is a quote. I'm taking it from today's USA Today,
Yeah.
And this was in February. The last month of the season is potentially enhanced by creating this incentive, in essence, to get into that 9th and 10 spot where blah, 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 blah. If my numbers are roughly right, we had 24 teams still competing to get into the playoffs with 2 weeks to go, which I'm told is a record. So he likes it.
Of course it's a record. Of course it's a record. San Antonio is friggin', they're 34-48. New Orleans is 36-46. Everybody's in the mix.
Right.
How far off can you be from San Antonio from 34-48? Other than Houston, Oklahoma City, everybody was within striking distance.
It's more inventory. Of course, the commissioner likes it. It's more inventory, Bob.
About how the NBA has been changing its format perpetually, and no matter what you do, you're going to have teams like San Antonio. If I'm not mistaken, the Celtics' first championship was against St. Louis. Well, but in '59, they beat a Laker team in the finals that was under 500. And that's
14 games under? 14 games under?
Not 14.
That's what I'm saying. The difference is right now, if you went 1-8, the Clippers at least are 42-40. In the East, Cleveland is 44-38. You would not have a single team under 500 if you did it the way we want it done.
All right. Well, anyway, so I think we're in agreement. It's here.
Yes.
And it's here. And we're very much curious to see, number one, if Cleveland can pull off the upset.
I will wrap this up by making a philosophical statement and maybe getting very deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of our sports society that we just keep on adding on because we have technology and because we can. At some point in time, we're going to have to say, you know what? We don't need more replay. We don't need more games. We don't need more progress. So at some point in time, we're just going to say, Gary, it's fine as is.
Gary, I'm worried because coaches, if they had their say, they would expand the NCAA tournament from now 68 to 128 if they could.
Bad news.
They would.
Yeah, because but see, Jeff, they have the tech, they have the media is there. I mean, look, we're on TV for God's sakes. I mean, everybody wants content. I mean, seriously though, the three of us are on a media channel. Everybody wants content. So if they go to 120 teams, somebody will buy it.
Of course, somebody will buy it, but it just gets watered down.
No
it just
question.
At some point, it gets watered down. And we say to ourselves,
and they'll say,
why do I want to watch? I mean, honestly, why the hell do I want to watch this playing game with the San Antonio Spurs? Why? Give me one reason. Give me one reason why I want to watch the Spurs New Orleans.
I can't.
No.
Bob, did you have a comment?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, if you got the NCAA thing, you know what they would say if they went from 64 to 120? They're at 68 anyway. Remember, they've already watered it. Let's play one more game. So, the multiple of 64.
Exactly.
You just play one more game. Yeah, that's all they'd say. But you're right about Gary. Your point about look at baseball now. The umpires are wired so that they have to make the announcement with the way the football referees do now after the replays, which are going to be endless. And we have the catcher with the buzzer now, because they're worried about sign stealing. Baseball got along with people stealing signs from second base for 100 years, but 100 years, 150 years. But anyway.
We're going to have to say enough is enough. Moving on.
All right.
Brooklyn.
Now, let me just point out,
Sure.
I want to ask if either of you guys took note, however, with regard to Cleveland and their chances of beating the net. Did you see what Kevin Love did the other night?
No.
Did you, Jeff?
No.
Kevin Love is still alive and breathing, folks.
Playing well.
He had 32 points and he made 8 threes. And you say, well, okay, a lot of guys in the league. Wait a minute. In 15 minutes of playing time, he played 15 minutes. He made 8 threes and he had 32 points. I'm wondering, hey, maybe he's got something. Maybe he can go off against the Nets. Who knows? All right.
Well, they'd be easy to root for. But okay, let's get to Brooklyn right now. And look, to me, they're a contender. I know that we have to wait and see what happens with the rest of the roster. But, I mean, if Kyrie wants to play, Jeff, and KD obviously is ready to go, if Kyrie's head is on the floor, I say look out.
Yeah, I'm told by my sources that Ben Simmons, as of now, the plan is for him to play game 1, which very well could be where, Bob?
Oh.
Game 1 of their first round series. Not playing. Where will that be?
Here
in Boston.
Boston.
How about that? Kyrie having to exercise a couple demons against Cleveland and then potentially Boston. Ben Simmons returning, playing his first game this season in Boston. And I won't be able to be there because I haven't seen my parents for about 3.5 months. They've been down in Florida and I'm going down to see them this weekend down the Cape. So I will watch it on TV.
Yeah, well, I'm into baseball this weekend too, so I'll be going to ballpark on Friday and Sunday. Not Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Monday. But anyway, Ben Simmons thing. It's just more ever increasing intrigue about with that team. I mean, absolutely. First of all, you're right. The nightly over under for Durant and Irving, I'm fixing right now at 70. That's the over under.
Probably right.
Okay. There you go.
So how do we feel about
Kyrie?
But how do we feel about
question,
Gary?
Huh? Gary, Kyrie, do you the one thing with Kyrie, right? Like he's up, down, all around. You don't know what Kyrie you're going to get necessarily. Do you trust him when it comes to like coming to Boston with everything on the line? He'll get booed. He's been booed here before this year, obviously. Do you trust his mental makeup? Or do you think he'll be more motivated and go off against the Celtics?
The latter.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bob, go ahead. I'm worried.
No, he's going to be a real threat. Let's just forget all that. Just analyze him as a ball player and forget about the personality. There are people who categorically say that he is the greatest finisher at his size in the history of the game. Period. That he goes to the basket.
What say you? What say you, Bob?
I never seen anybody better at that size. I was saying the same thing about the Isaiah Thomas at his size. He remains the most amazing thing at his size that I've ever seen getting to the basket. But when Kyrie's gone to the basket, it is a breathtaking event. He's amazing. His ambidexterity, his body control, his inventiveness, everything is just
his handle is crazy to get there.
He is the fastest. He is the fastest, quickest, slipperiest. He goes into a crowd and he comes out. I'm like, how did that happen?
I mean, I'll tell you, I'm sorry. Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was another one for me, but it's a little bit different here. But I don't want to discount him. He's right up in that category, and they're about the same size.
So here's my thing, Jeff. To answer your question, it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think Kyrie has to be where Bob says he's going to be. Though, if I had to choose, I agree with Bob. I think he has to be good enough because if you look at Kevin Durant, and I thought Durant in the last playoffs, when Kyrie was out, Harden was not himself. It was just all KD. I thought KD's performance was exemplary. I thought it was balls. So you bring that into 70% Kyrie, I think it's good enough to win in Boston. It could be. Because I don't want to take anything away from the Celtics. But they
don't have Robert Williams. They're not going to have Robert Williams.
Right.
And that, I don't think enough people are talking about that. I feel like, you're taking away arguably their most important defensive player in a game where they're going to need him. Like in a series, they're going to need him, right? We talk about Kyrie and his ability to get to the basket and finish through contact, around contact, whatever. But you talk about Kevin Durant and his ability to his first step and get there, and his length and athleticism and ability. Obviously, we know he can shoot it from three, but beyond that, he can put it on the floor. And if you have Al Horford and Daniel Tice down there, let's face it, that's a little bit different. That's a lot different.
I got Luke Cornett, but then I'm being smart ass here. You know how I feel. I've gone from real excitement and enthusiasm to okay, let's see what happens. I'll live with it. If they don't progress without Robert Williams, I mean, it's a major thing. Yeah. Now they had some pretty good games, without him against the the inferior competition. There's no question. They still kicked a lot of asses without him. But not in this level now.
Not with two of the top 10 players in the game on the other side.
Okay, so to focus on Brooklyn, so Simmons, how does that? Jeff, you have the most knowledge of him, and you're the Simmons guy. So how does that all work?
Well, I mean, again, it probably depends on how much he's been able to practice with the team at this point, and how comfortable. To me, you're not going to ask him to do too much early, right? You give him 10, 15 minutes game one if you can, and you just make him facilitate and defend. And if his body's up to it, well, that's probably all you'll need. Again, in this series without Robert Williams, I feel like push the ball. If he's got his athleticism and his back is healthy, he can push it. He can just give it to Kyrie and KD and finish when he needs to. But, the days of saying, hey, Ben Simmons has to shoot the ball, they're gone with Kyrie and KD around him. They don't need that. They don't need that from him. Defend, push it, and facilitate. And if you can do that for 22 minutes a game by the end of that series and then ramp it up and maybe play 25 minutes a game in the next series, it's fine because he doesn't have to have the ball. He needed the ball in his hands at the end of the game for Philly. Well, he doesn't need – the ball is not going to be in his hands because it's going to be in KD or Kyrie's hands. He's never going to see the ball in the final 2 minutes. He may not even be on the floor.
He may not be on the floor. But, I mean, I know how you feel. His defense is where he can be the most service to them, and they need it. Their defense is substandard. If they don't improve their defense, they're not going to go very far, even if they, period. He will enhance that. There's one other guy I want to mention that should be mentioned for them because, and this comes into play with the Robert Williams thing, and that is Drummond. He can still rebound with anybody.
It's huge, man.
Look at some of his rebound totals this year. He's a force. They're very fortunate that trade, bought them a shooter to replace, Harris right now with Seth Curry, and they got a major rebound force. He's still
and Harden has looked atrocious lately for Philly, atrocious. And I said this when they got him. He just looks like his body belongs playing in the YMCA. It does. Like, I just see the deterioration. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'll be able to turn it on for the playoffs. I have no faith in James Harden being able to lead Philly to the title or anything close. No. I love Joel. Yeah.
I have to stick with my pick. I thought when they made the move, I felt he would be reinvigorated, much like he was when he first arrived in Brooklyn. When he first arrived in Brooklyn, he was dishing the ball.
He was.
But the playoffs are a long run, man. So I don't know, Jeff, but I'll take the hit if
we don't know yet. I mean, we don't know. I just feel like, hey, who do you have more faith in right now? The culture in Milwaukee or, Philly and throwing it together here kind of at the last minute, right? Sure. I mean, that's the other thing that I still fault Daryl Morey for is if you're going to make this move, you had to make it earlier to build some chemistry. And they didn't do that. And I just don't think they're going to be able to all of a sudden, snap their fingers and be able to go on a run here in Philly. I just, to me, I think Milwaukee, Miami are the two teams that you look at in the East and you trust the most, with Brooklyn being the wild card, obviously, depending on what happens with Ben Simmons or if they decide to actually give a shit about playing defense.
Well, I'm sticking with Milwaukee as my favorite.
Yeah.
And that is not to disparage Miami at all. I'm just saying I just trust Milwaukee a little bit more when these games come now. And Antetokounmpo just gets incrementally better every year. I mean, he's absolutely at the top of his game, and they're formidable. So I'm picking.
Well, they know their roles too. I think that's the part with Milwaukee is they all know their roles and they embrace them. Right? Giannis is just the ultimate team leader who's not about himself. Chris Middleton's just happy with being the sidekick. You know, Drew Holiday is just what he is. Right? Like does everything. Doesn't care also about attention. And then they got a bunch of good role guys around them.
They got Lopez back in time and functioning just in time. I mean, so, you know, they just, and that's important because he was the anchor of their defense last year. And now they got him back. They got through the whole almost 4/5 of the season without him. And they still had a good year, but they're going to be better than they've been all year right now.
There is no drama. No drama in Milwaukee. Just basketball.
No, you're right.
You're
right. That means something.
You know, I do have to. I want to go off script just real quick. I want to ask you guys about two teams in the postseason as we look ahead. Bob, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on Memphis and Golden State?
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, Memphis, they surprised me that by doing at times as well as they did when Morant was not there. Memphis has won 55 games, I believe, and they're a threat and to go to the conference finals, I think, possibly. They should be taken very seriously. And Golden State is tell me how healthy Draymond is. You know,
no, tell me how healthy Steph is.
How healthy Steph is. Steph hasn't recovered fully from that dive that Marcus Smart made. No, I mean, if they don't have everything going now, Thompson apparently is back, being Klay Thompson. He's had some big Klay Thompson games. And Jordan Poole is a revelation that I never saw coming. That's for sure. I mean, he's obviously but for them to perform to their max, they have to have Draymond doing the Draymond things. He's got to be out there. And of course they need Steph. And there's no Steph is, I don't even know, he's going to play. Is he ready?
Sounds like he's 50-50 at this point.
So that makes them a big question mark team. The potential, and if healthy enough, sure, they can go a long way, but they're very much a murky topic right now.
Listen, if you tell me you have a healthy Steph, a healthy Klay, a healthy Draymond, a healthy Andrew Wiggins, all right, like Andrew Wiggins is your fourth best player, like that's a pretty damn good team.
Maybe not if Poole could be your fourth best player.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
So that's five pretty damn good players. And
I wish they had Wiseman. I wish they had a healthy Wiseman because I do think he would give them exactly what this team needs, which is just a rim runner, a rim protector, a shot alterer, a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands at all offensively. You can throw him lobs, and nobody's going to pay attention to him offensively. Nobody's going to look at him offensively. But I think that hurts him. I really do. I think ultimately, again, I think they can get past Denver. But who knows? I mean, your boy could carve him up.
Gary, nobody's going to sit around and say, "Oh boy, we're playing Memphis." Oh no, the Memphis is going to be heard from. I think.
I love them. I mean, I think they're a blast. I think the playoffs right now. I think for me, the regular season is the regular season. I'm not going to say the NBA has become like the NHL, but it's closer. You know, the NHL is like the real season starts in the playoffs, but maybe it's been the COVID thing. Maybe it's been the Kyrie thing. Maybe it started with Popovich resting guys. But now, like, to me, the real season starts today, you know, sure. And the fact that LeBron is not playing is not an issue. You know, the NBA, as we know, with David Stern, started the whole star thing, the Bird, the Magic, and not to let, Michael and all this. And, LeBron's not playing, and I don't care. I mean, I don't dislike him, but I mean, Bob, we don't miss LeBron.
He doesn't transcend the game. Not
anymore.
I've never bought into that any more than I bought into Tiger at this stage of his career and being essential to the success of the PGA. I don't think, no, he's not in the tournament. Too bad. We got some damn good player. I mean, Jokic is still there, right? And the Giannis is still there. Kevin Durant is the best player in the world now. That anyway, he's just, you can't say enough about him. And
you got great players. You got great players that are different. They're all different.
But Jeff, here's another point I want to make. You got great teams. You just talked about Milwaukee. That's a team.
I don't know if you have great teams. I might push back with you on that. I don't think you have great teams. I think you've got a lot of very good teams, and the disparity from 1 to, I don't know, 8 overall. I'm not going to use 1 to 8 in each conference, but 1 to 8 overall is probably as small. And Bob can probably talk to this a whole lot better than I can. Is probably as small as it's been in a long time. Am I wrong, Bob?
No, I think you're right. And so, yeah, there's a lot of dispersed talent. Put it that way. It's good. And I'm not, I'm a defender of the regular season, but that's the whole topic for, but yeah. And anyway, I hate that disparaging the regular season. Having lived through many of them, I understand the dynamics of them, I think, and I appreciate them. But, but I know we're living in a world now where the focus has become so disproportionate on playoffs and rings and and the whole thing. I understand, and a lot of that is talk. The way the sports is reported. The talk show driven world we live in, the talking head world that we live in, the world that we're part of. But it has changed the conversation. So anyway, but I can live. I'm with you totally, 100%, Gary. LeBron's not in. Too bad. We got plenty of players I want to see. That's for sure. So, that's fine.
How do we feel, Jeff, about the Lakers right now and their future?
Not great. I mean, how can you, right? Like, look at what happened to him this year. AD is seemingly hurt every year. Russell Westbrook was a complete train wreck, and LeBron's not getting younger. He's getting older every year. Now, he had a hell of a year, especially for his age, but you just watch him and you're like, all right, he doesn't have that burst consistently like he used to. And it's going to hit him even more next year. This isn't Tom Brady. This isn't the NFL. This is the NBA. It's a little bit different, right? Like LeBron's game, if it changes, we know he's not the greatest perimeter shooter. And if that's what he's got to rely on as he gets older, his game's going to start to diminish quickly. But again, for me, it's more about the other guys. It's more about Anthony Davis being unable to be relied on. It's more about Russell Westbrook and it being a horrible, horrible fit in LA and how you get rid of that contract. And now who wants to come in and coach this team? That's what I would ask. Again, you're going to go after Nick Nurse or Doc Rivers or somebody like that. Why the hell would Doc Rivers want to go to the Lakers and deal with this team right now? Like, no chance if I'm Doc Rivers, because you can't coach him anyway. You can't coach a team with LeBron on it. So why are you going to go there? You're set up for failure. If I'm Doc or Nick Nurse, thanks, but no thanks.
I mean, all the next guy has to do is talk to Frank Vogel. Take him out for a beer. Okay, Frank, let's go. What's it like? I mean, we knew he was going to be the scapegoat. We know it's
a matter of when.
Not the first guy in the history of American or international professional sport where the coach is the unfair, scapegoat of a situation with way beyond his control. That's part of coaching in the world of sport. Okay, but for the specifics, the next guy got to take Frank out for a couple of beers and get the lowdown. You guys, I learned something this morning. This is the 6th. They've had 6 coaches since Phil Jackson. The Lakers.
Wow.
That's sobering.
Vogel did win a title.
Yeah, he did. He did. And
he did what they asked him to do. He won a title. He was the good fall guy, right? He didn't fight it. He did exactly what he was called upon to do. And there was always going to be an expiration date on Frank Vogel in LA.
He didn't get stupid overnight. And that's true.
Yeah, and the league knows it. Obviously, the league knows it. We saw him. He did well with the Pacers, then Orlando. Coaching Orlando. he'll get another job. It's not going to be an issue for him. But now that we are talking about the Lakers, and I don't want to get Bob Ryan upset again, but I am hooked on HBO's Winning Time, which Bob has watched the first episode, and he doesn't appreciate the way that they've portrayed. You watched 2? Okay.
I saw number 2.
Okay. By the time you get to number 5 or 6, Jerry West is portrayed to me as like one of the keys to the key of the dynasty because he stepped down. So I think you'll like the way Jerry's portrayed later on in the show. But good, Jeff, now that you have some time, you have to binge this.
I'm going to watch it.
Okay.
I'm going to watch it.
And the thing I want to bring up, last night I caught it, I think it's episode 5. Bob, I want you to talk about, okay, so McKinney has the bike accident, right? McKinney has a bike, Westhead takes over, and he makes the decision to start Michael Cooper over Haywood. And no one else sees it but Westhood. But I didn't know that Westhead made the call to say Michael Cooper, because Cooper thought he was going to get cut. Do you remember any of that?
No, nothing at all. Not so that, first of all, I'd have to get a verification of anything this was real based on what I've seen it referred to. Even that there is such a person as Michael Cooper, I'm going to have to verify that. And okay, no, I don't remember that. I'm serious, I don't.
No, but I found that very interesting. I thought because like Michael Cooper, by the time they were playing the Celtics, it's like, okay, Michael Cooper's locking people down.
Oh, well, Larry categorically would tell you he's the best guy to ever guarded him. And no.
This length, man.
There's no second place. It's Michael Cooper. And so anyway, no, okay, that's fine. I did not know that. But
well, anyways, Jeff,
Jeff, when you get ready, just make sure you have a economy-sized barf bag ready when you start watching it.
It says on the screen, this is for dramatic purposes, Jeff. I mean,
really?
Bob being tied to the facts as a great journalist, me being a movie guy, I love it. I think it's phenomenal.
Entertaining.
It's entertainment.
I'm amazed. I'm just stunned that people like it that much.
But is it based like loosely off the book?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was based off Jeff Pearlman's book.
Yeah, but they take some.
The only thing that is real is that if you see a basketball bouncing, it probably was a real basketball. But other than that, it's So
are you done? Are you done with it now, Bob?
Harry Potter is more realistic than this movie. Right?
I love it, folks. If you watch it for yourself and judge. It's entertainment. Tracy Letts as Jack McKinney should win an award. I mean, he's phenomenal. And Chick Hearn does the hand signal. Pat Riley's doing the games, and Chick Hearn, gives him the thing. When I did a couple of games for Mike Gorman, I got more than one of these from Tommy Heinsohn. Shut up. And on another note, as we leave, gentlemen, I just have this.
This is Audible. The arm of the band, August Frisco. Just another dead guy until the DNA results came back anyway. Just enough of his All-American good looks remained to know the league's best quarterback was too dead to play in Sunday's championship game.
My audiobook is out. Buy it on Audible and iTunes.
Very nice.
We'll see you later.